Hello, guys. Welcome to the Train Parrot and to another episode of the Elite TA weekly sessions. We do these sessions where we cover loads of coins, loads of altcoins selected by elite members. And this week we have in the section, we have SUI, DOGE, this one that I never done, VIC. We're going to follow with Solana, Bittensor, APT, Chromia. Wow, I haven't seen this in a long time since the previous cycle. Arbitrum, Virtual, Axel, and then we have Tia. I hope it's called Axel, it's like the singer. HBAR, Cardano, Ondo, Trump, BTC, Vera. And you can see that the list is pretty long this week. And that is something as well that reminds me that there are some hints of a potential altcoin season, right? So we have the Bitcoin dominance coming down and all those things. And now we are having an expanded list that people are gaining interest in the altcoins again. So we'll do in just a few seconds. We're going to start with the TA, but before that, let me explain what is it about this session, because you're probably going to either join as an elite member. If you do, you're live now, so I have the chat in here, and you can ask any questions about the altcoins or about TA. You can also join me if you want to show me a chart. For that, we're going to share a link in the elite area in the community in Patreon, or as part of one of the comments in here. That could also work. And if you're watching this video and it's already recorded on Friday, that's because you're not a member of Elite, and you can always join by using the link that is now appearing on the screen. By doing so, you get two perks. You can, of course, you can vote and get 5 hearts that you can distribute among all of these coins, or add your own coins, of course, and then join the live sessions and ask specific questions about each of the individual coins. However many questions you have, we can cover them. And we do 1 hour a week of weekly TA on altcoins, and it also can include forex. It can include, I've done everything literally. People came with different questions like, do USDT dominance against this and this against that, and we'll see what we find. It's all very genuine, live, and very cool. And the second thing that we are doing is, by the end of each month, on the last Thursday, we also cover PineScript coding, just a single session of 1 hour a month as well. So if you are interested in that as well, you can join. You need to join as Elite. Let's get started with SUI. SUI has done some progress. I can see in here that we left SUI in the last video below $3, and this week we are finally, potentially, breaking for good that level. So currently we are trading at 322, and the next level of resistance is 3.4. Some things that we've been mentioning in the past videos is that we are within a squeeze, so we are waiting for a breakdown out of the squeeze. We also mentioned that by hitting the support at 2.37, that was a little bit overextended to stay bullish, right? So that was one bullet that SUI took, because we should have stopped around the golden pocket, maximum to 7, but we went to 231. But still, that was a good confluence of support horizontal in here, and the ascending sloping trend line as well at 2.3 to 4. We managed to close about 2.4. And thanks to that, we have had already 3 weeks in green, and we are approaching the first challenging resistance. So if we do it this week, we're going to meet with that resistance at 3.5. Let's see if this week is extremely bullish. We could get there. If we do it 2 weeks from now, we could do it at 3.4. So the longer we take, we confront that resistance at a lower price. And as long as we continue, in putting green candles against that resistance, it makes a bigger case that we can break out and continue to the upside. Let's have a look at the RSI, what it's doing in these areas. And you can see that, contrarian to what we have in these two swings, which was from one extreme to the other, so from 20 to 77, then from 34 to 80, and so on, we were expecting to continue that trend, right? The trend is your friend, and in this case, is the trend of the momentum. But we didn't do that so far. So it looks like this third leg is finding a bit more of challenges to achieve that, because we broke down in here. That's something that we we didn't do until we reached the very top of the range on SUI. Okay, so something is clearly different this time. I don't know if people are paying more attention to other coins, are taking the spotlight, but also the longs took a deeper correction in here. So you can see that we were bouncing at 50% longs. Now we are potentially bouncing from 40. And in the past video, I mentioned that we could break out from this resistance, the longs, and they can kind of take cover, go to the scene of the crime and meet with that 50. That is a point very important, because if we manage to reclaim that, we can still say we have good chances that this can carry on into that upside, the sweet upside that can bring very high prices of SUI. If not, if we meet with the 50 on the delta longs and shorts and we see a rejection, and at the same time, when we go to the scene of the crime in the momentum, that also has its own scene of the crime, in this case is at Narisayo 58 on the weekly. So if we meet with that and we see also rejection, then it's a completely different story. So very important questions are, where is 58 located in the price? So let's go for that first. It's actually 58.28. I got it right there. And it's around 3.86 cents. So that is a tough resistance, because that is the weekly telling us there is an actual reclaim of a lost support. So the statistics will probably say that once you lose support, it gets more difficult to reclaim it. Particularly in this case, we went down below that support a couple of times. We can still do it, but it's just not anymore like a 50-50. It starts being less 40-35% chances that we reclaim it. With every bullet, you kind of go deeper in the hole. In this case, the immediate resistance is 34. After that, if we exit from here, let's remember that 380, that's going to be definitely important. What else can we say? Well, the socials are spiking. It's not an all-time high in terms of socials. It's just 180. The highest it's been is to 1, but getting very close to that. I've been also monitoring the potential for this to continue growing in social dominance into the top of the ascending channel. So SUI, interesting, because price is coming back down, is performing less, but is becoming more popular. So maybe that divergence could turn into actually something positive. After all, the weekly structure has higher highs and higher lows. There's nothing really fundamentally broken in this weekly structure. We're just in a squeeze, and we have taken a little bit longer time to exit relative to what we did in these other two impulsive moves. And that's why that momentum doesn't look, as good as the two previous occasions. Let's go with liquidity. I think it's going to be revealing. With the long term, we got in here on the daily chart. Oh, that's pretty good news. Right, so in the previous video, I was saying that SUI lost the support. That is the same that Bitcoin did. And I can show you that. Let me show you Bitcoin. Where are you? Yeah, here is that support on the other side, right? We lost that first line of defense. But yesterday in the morning, I say, I don't really trust this breakdown. That was happening on 15-minute, hour, 4-hour. And we saw it on the MACD as well. That it was decreasing on the histogram. We need to correct this line. We need to place it like this now on Bitcoin, so we need to do the same with SUI. So I didn't trust that breakdown, and we had it here on SUI, and now we need to move this there. And well, Bitcoin rules, right? So if Bitcoin reclaims, then SUI is reclaiming too, and that is good news for both. Okay, we took a bullet, we take note, but we reclaim. So it's kind of a mixed bag. Is something bearish with also something bullish. I guess it cancels out a little bit the bearishness of the breakdown, but we are not fully clean. We have the breakout on the daily. This is from this channel in here. We took that level, we took this level, so we are in the right direction. In other words, a breakdown from a broadening, falling broadening wedge. I think that's the official name. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. I tend to mix everything in terms of naming. So if we carry on in this direction, we have an extension of 1 at $5. So if it is actually gives the same performance as it did in here, that's $5, but that's already underperforming, right? We should be expecting larger, because if we want to maintain this structure of higher highs and higher lows, we should be expecting now on the weekly an extension to $6-7 or 1618, which is almost a $10. That is if we maintain this with a altcoin season. If that altcoin season plays out, we're talking about those levels to get started. And on the daily, that is giving 5 and 6 7, more or less the same as the one on the weekly. So that's looking pretty good. I think in order for this to fail, we should get a rejection pretty much from where we are. So I'm just looking at this bearish pattern that we used to have, right? So that left some liquidity at 4.3. It's kind of a head and shoulder, something like that. And we are kind of meeting with that neckline at the moment. So it's not perfect because there was a move down in here, here and there. It's all over the place, but I can at least see the inverse cup and handle in this area in here that already played out and it went all the way down beyond the technical target. And now we're meeting with that. That is a 3258. And I guess it's going to be the initial challenge. And now let me clean these lines because I'm seeing another pattern and let's draw it. Remember, the first coins are going to get more love. So you voted for SUI with 8 votes and I'm going to precisely do that, right? And we got in here, yeah, this is an ascending wedge in the daily, and we're breaking out from that. But if on the day we come back below 3.1, we could see a little bit of, a small pullback at the very least, because it's a bearish pattern. But we are breaking out. So it's the breakout of all of this, and maybe that pullback is just the retest. Let's go with the next coin. Next coin is DOGE that I think a couple of days ago I covered in the main channel. DOGE USDT, like this. So we got this pattern in here. Let me have a very quick look. Right, so with Doge, we are forming, we are breaking out. We are still in this area of the breakout from the price trend line in here with this first initial candle out of the breakout area. The areas of accumulation were between 13 cents and 16 cents. Similarly to this area of accumulation, there is a bullish structure. It is expanding. It is looking good. I guess the next resistance is going to be 22 cents. Seconds. And I'm remembering that around here there was some liquidity. So let's go into that liquidity that I need to see in the scalping chart. Let me see if I can find Doge. Is there. And there was a very specific pattern that didn't play out bearish, or at least it's not playing out bearish yet, right? So this is the 1 hour time frame. This is a bear flag that I say I don't trust that we're going to go anywhere to this 12 cents. I say that in the video. And we have all that liquidity in here that has a very good chance that we hit it if Bitcoin hits the liquidity that we're currently hitting with Bitcoin. So the news on Doge, the big news, I guess, is that we have taken all this short-term liquidity around here that I believe I've got here also on CoinGlass. So this, if we refresh it, it's all gone. And now we have smaller buckets of liquidity going higher into 21, into 23. We cannot see the big picture. We just see 3 months. So we are seeing liquidity right below it, right above it, but we don't see what's there. But I pretty much guarantee you that the big buckets of long term are located above 50 cents. We're going to find probably some of them at 40 cents, overlapping with the order block that starts from there into here of 60% down. And this double bottom could, if we complete it, if we do all that liquidity that I show you in the short term, if we complete that, that should give us something pretty decent to get us into 32. So hopefully if we break out from here, we can get into 32 and start talking about the full expansion. So for now, we're just kind of targeting the peanuts that are in the close proximity, the low hanging fruit. But if we get into 32, things change pretty decently. After all, I was comparing this area of the double bottom that can have a big expansion in here with this formation in here. I was speculating if we do a double bottom similar to that one. We don't have to. Right now, we lost this breakdown just like we did in July. Watch my recent video of Doge, and that's where we are. Now we went for plan B, which is the revenge rally into 47 RSI. So now I'm curious if we are going to complete that double bottom for another expansion to here. So far, we are on our way to that. Okay, so as long as Bitcoin behaves and we don't get that rejection that I feel like is still likely into August, that's the typical thing that happens according to seasonality. You can always argue that this cycle, seasonality, is worth almost nothing because everything seems to be upside down in terms of seasonality. But yeah, we have 4 months in a row in green, so it's no longer just seasonality. It's also, a very extended period of monthly green candles that could end in July, could end in August, worst case in September, and hopefully we get it. I think it's healthy to get it earlier, so later we can get big expansions in the market. All right, that is Doge. Let's go with the next coin, which is VIC USDT, and let's have a look. All right, guys, let me know if you can comment in the box of live comments in YouTube. I haven't seen any comment, and I'm just double checking if there's any technical issue. Well, let's look at this coin, VIC. There's plenty of coins showing this particular pattern, particularly some of the coins that are going to come later that are doing this descending trend line and respecting it so perfectly well. First things that stands out from this coin that I've never done TA is not just the line down, but also the momentum up. Okay, we are at the same highs of 58, and to me it looks like a channel up. Let me show you how. So however you want to see it, whether you want to see it like this, you want to be optimistic and think, yeah, it's a channel up with higher highs and higher lows in the momentum. And let's say this was to meet with that line, it will meet at 70. Okay, and at 17 here should be pretty cool. What do we need to see is that we need to flip this resistance at 27. We need to flip it into support. Right now, we seem to be doing that this week. Let's see if that holds that, or if we see a rejection back below 27. Either case, if we get rejected and we stay around 27, then we are forming a double bottom, okay? And we pinch a little bit of liquidity there. That's fine, but the longs are coming in and they are forming a double bottom in this area that calls for this to be to turn into the best area of accumulation. And that has a target that if this week we close slightly above it, that is a breakout, right? And that could bring us closer to the next resistance, which is 48. It will take us to around 44. And that is this area of sideways. That brings us back into the previous range, which is bullish. And why I don't have the volume profile in here? It's kind of gone. And let me see if I can bring it. I really miss my volume profile. So that is in technicals, profiles, visible range, and then you get to learn how I configure it. So volume area 70 and row size. This I put it like around 100 to get a lot of values, and this I reduce it to 10, so it's out of the way. That's pretty much it. So the most trading in this coin so far since listing has been around this area. So we're just going back into the median. So watch out for just going into the median and seeing a rejection in lower lows at 27. That supports that this is. But if we reclaim above 43, we are on the top area of the volume. Then we have a vacuum into the next resistance around 80 from point of view of volume. Always think about these depressions as areas where you can pass quickly. Those usually overlap with fair value gaps. So here there are fair value gaps, a few of them here as well. And that's usually overlapping with low volume in the profile. So if we can get around with holding 44, then we are in the top area of that volume and we have a good chance of a breakout into the next area, which is 80. That will already be over 100% up. Of course, this is probably a low cap, so it's high risk, high reward. Right. Let's see if we can pull some liquidity pools of the past 3 months. So wow, from 02 to 0.36. Yeah, this is this pumping here. I guess, yeah, let me put 90 days. That's what we are seeing there. Unfortunately, we cannot see beyond, but I know at 60 cents, there must be huge liquidation level. So if we get into 44, the breakout beyond that takes us into 60. Those liquidations can also teleport us into 80. So that is the bullish case. The bearish case is the rejection at 27. Let's speed up a little bit this. Solana, now that we are going lower in the number of coins in the list, we can go faster. Solana has this potential to go into the global resistance at 56. That's what I'm tracking. And I'm also tracking the healthiness of the pullback, which is definitely healthy. It reached the golden pocket. Now I want to go to the next golden pocket from the whole retracement in here. That brings us into $200. So far, it's still within the trading range range in this area here. We are still kind of trapped there. We need to break beyond $160, get into 180 and break this rejection, right? So we no longer talk about a dead cat bounce pointing at lower targets of Solana. So far, it's looking healthy. No yellow warning or anything on Solana. Let's just see if we can break 160 initially and then 180. So we go into price exploration. Bitcoin is doing what Solana needs it to do to achieve that. My areas of concern, as usual, are the excessive amount of longs on this area. We are at all-time highs longs, and the only way I see Solana going into 160, 180 is either first correcting, taking out a decent amount of longs, and then with new longs taking 160 and 180, or breaking out in terms of longs, and because the all-time highs are 66, there are coins that reach longs of 80 or 90, but Solana has never done that. So we need to bet, can we actually get into 75? Can we get into 90? And if that's the case, yeah, sure, then we can break out from global resistance on RSI and even go way higher. Social dominance continues to grow at 12% across all social networks, and there's been plenty of bullish news on Solana, we have to admit. I've been covering it in the channel too. Let's go with the next coin, which is Tau. I haven't covered this in a while, so I'm curious to see how it's doing. Right, so we have this up, then down in here. We found an equal low. We broke out. That breakout seems pretty cool, but I'm not liking that. Right, so many longs have pulled out, but the price hasn't at least put a new low. So yeah, that's kind of positive, but there has been a significant breakdown in here with a hidden bearish divergence. And as a consequence of that, let me move this point of control out of the way. I can see the point of control without plotting it, and it's always in the way. 352 is resistance, and we need to reclaim that. So we kind of dip a little bit too further in this area in there. We should have done just a small retracement, but with all this momentum coming back down, it seems to be topping in here, and that's my area of concern. Unless this is the actual pivot, and I forgive that we went too fast, too high, and maybe from there we can develop. Maybe that's the case. I think we can do that maybe. But I want to see reclaiming 352. I don't want that level to push the price any lower, because any lower from there, we take the golden pocket and we start turning back into going to the same low of 166, and then we have to do the whole drama of having to build a double bottom huge, which is always painful and slow and annoying. So your risk is probably around 147. So let's have a look at that. Yeah, sometimes these liquidity pools on CoinGlass are not really great, because it's all speculation. It's an algorithm that speculates where could it be. And 311 and 285. Well, 311 makes sense because we have so many bounces around the area, and 285. So let's assess what will happen if we go to 285. Well, if it's just pinching that, that's fine. And 311, yeah, that is not deep enough to actually break the weekly structure. So that should be fine. And well, we need to do pretty much the same, right? As with Solana, we need to take $500 and go into 582. So if you are already allocated at the lows, I will say it's not clear to me that we need to dump this, even though the longs have dumped a lot, but the price is still holding there against the neckline. So it's got a good chance to carry on into 434 and higher. Also, with Bitcoin being positive, yeah, it's doable, but always leave some room for Bitcoin failing in August, in which case this guy can go into our risk area of 160. Let's go to the next one. Again, if you have any questions on these coins that I'm covering, just feel free to leave them in the YouTube chat, okay? And let's go with APT. Okay, so with APT on the momentum, yeah, it's taking a long time here in the accumulation area. So in this area, we went 190 days we took to get to the top. Here, 154. And I was speculating that after this double bottom, that we were going to do it around September, but we are just going sideways in the momentum. It's expanding little by little, maybe forming a larger double bottom with RSI 35, which seems to be where APT bounces. Twice here, one time here, and two times again here. So if we repeat that, I'm expecting less, because we have declining momentum and the price is also declining. So it's not bearish divergence, but everything is kind of in a decreasing kind of everywhere. Price, momentum, everything. Why is that? I don't know. Is there any bearish news? Bitwise updates Dogecoin and Aptos filings. Analyst notes huge addition in kind redemptions. Anyways, no, I don't find anything necessarily bearish. I think there's just too diluted environment for the altcoins, and some altcoins that are actually really good. They are oh, that's a shame. So my settings don't translate per chart. That's why I'm seeing so many bars there. So on Aptos, let's focus on what do we need to do. We need to we are at new lows. Yeah, we continue in this channel to the downside. That 3.7 is the support. We need to complete the double bottom to 5.5, reclaim neckline, and start our way up. Right, we got this line that we need to meet up at some point in there. All this area is the most traded range. All this area exiting from $6. I don't know if you saw that, but I want more bars. Yeah, I can see it now. After 6.2, there is a depression in the volume, and then there is another resistance at $9. So maybe if we break from this double bottom, we can get ourselves into $9 and trade a little bit around the $9, which is where the resistance is, and then head to new highs. But so far, it is a tough one because we have these declining levels from March into December. The longs are coming back. They're coming back pretty early from the lows in here. Yeah, and let's see liquidation levels. Okay, we got a big liquidation at 4.2, 4.5. Let's see where that is in the price. It's just immediately below the weekly candle. So it's very close to the price. Unfortunately, I won't see anything below that. Let's go with the next coin, which is Chromia. This was one of my favorite coins to trade with bots. I did it for probably 2 years in a row, and I'm not going to claim that I discovered this coin. It was another community about bots, trading with a bot, I think. And they had a pretty decent bot that I didn't copy the bot, I copied the coin. I basically found a coin that does a lot of fluctuations, really great for trading with DCA bots and stuff like that. And what is it doing now? So we got this squeeze in here, a triangle. Again, watch out with this coin because it's doing lower highs and lower lows. It's not looking really that bullish. So that means if you're going to trade it, adjust your expectations. We got a channel like this, and definitely it's like a bearish structure in here. There was a big move from these lows of 600%. That's why it's tradable, right? You get in trouble in here and suddenly 600% up. And the best chance we have is that area of accumulation that used to be between 0.0858 and 11.81 now has translated into this area. We took the lows, we put new lows, but we are still building a similar double bottom, and there is just 1/4 left to complete it until 11.85, and that can bring the price back to around 18 cents. We have very little amount of longs, so that is definitely in an area of value to add, even if you're just gonna scalp a little bit until 12 or something and then see how it goes from there. And if you get lucky and you get one of these double bottom informations with a breakout from neckline, then you hold on to your teeth because there can be a decent move up. Chromias like that. In this case, I will adjust expectations. What I mean by that is watch out with 22 in case we don't cross beyond 22. If you don't have that breakout, we could come back, right? We are in a very structure, so price can play out going there, but then still come back down and put a new low like in this structure. So watch out for that. But if you break out in here, thanks to this depression, we can go into the next level, which is 34. By doing so, and actually by doing this breakout, even earlier, by doing this breakout, we are breaking out on the weekly. So that is also something positive if we can complete that. But accumulation at the lows, right? So you think that could be building something good? Well, accumulate at the lows and accumulate that value. And if you go lower, well, you accumulate at the lows and then accumulate at the new lows. But watch out that you're forming new lows, right? I mean by that is a new double bottom formation that hasn't been completed during that bottom information, and looking at data, then you can do it. Also notice that Chromia on RSI is kind of very repetitive, right? So we got that low of 35 that is repeated constantly, and we got the squeeze incoming. So a failure will look something like this, and then another bottom somewhere in here, maybe a liquidity hand, and then a breakout from lower. And immediate success will mean that we break out straight away that line. So you can prepare a plan for either case. You don't have to know which one is coming. You can think, if I'm in this scenario, I'll do this. If I'm in that scenario, I'll do that. These are the levels. These are the RSI I'm going to track and write a journal, the usual. Boring, but it works. Systematic. ARB, wait a second. I haven't done liquidation levels of CHR. You guys are very quiet. I'm seriously suspecting. Oh, Nat is here. This is super helpful. Thanks. All right. We got one comment. I've seen so many people joining the elite, but I don't know, guys, if you're having issues with the time zone, that you're not joining as much as before. Even though you're voting more, you're asking for them. I guess you're watching just the recording. But if you are live, make some noise. It's always nice to know that someone is listening. We are just liquidating 86, then we got 95, then 10.5. That is slightly higher. This is just 3 months. I'm hoping that Market Monkey Terminal is going to introduce liquidation levels heat map. So far, they have liquidations, but not heat map. If they do that, potentially we're going to get more history. But so far, no one has all the coins, all the history. Trading different still is the best for liquidity pools. Right, so those were the levels. They're very close to the price, so they don't help really that much. Let's go with the next one, ARB. USDT on Binance. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we had a bullish divergence in March. We have higher highs, higher lows, and we have a breakout in progress that could potentially take the recent high of 46, heading into global resistance. We got a line supporting the breakout, and the price is still in accumulation. The lows are 25, and the previous lows in here was already another accumulation that broke out, and it formed a pivot at around 1.2, okay? And connecting the dots, that is giving us a neckline at 46 that also is in confluence with the downward sloping resistance at 46. Then if we break out from here, we're going to get some levels that we need to confront. We have that resistance at 73 that is in confluence with volume. Then we get the next one that is around here, starts at $1 and is also psychological level, $1. Then the 1.2 that has been resistance, and it was the beginning of the failure in here. Then, okay, so we need to be monitoring for double bottom. Okay, we already can tell that there is one here, there was one here, and now there is one almost completed right next to the breakout area. This one went up, this one went up, but it failed with this order block. Yeah, that's why it's good to identify the stones in the way so you don't get them in your feet when you're walking. So this guy has, those levels of resistance in here, then in here, then in there. And every time that you achieve one and you conquer it, you can start moving your stop loss up and up and up and up and up. And, that's how you can ride into way higher if we get there. But if you don't, you still take profits, right? You don't start putting a stop loss once you are already 1,000%. That doesn't make any sense. Don't put it too close to the price because you're going to get stopped out too quickly. But kind of a middle ground is always good, even if you don't catch the actual top, which is definitely not the point. So this is looking promising. It's building up something. Longs are not too overcrowded. We have a breakout. It's healthy so far. What is this coin? I'm gonna keep an eye. Arbitrum. Right. Yeah, I know Arbitrum. And yeah, if we can manage actually to get into $1.2, that will be incredible. Okay, because we will get a global breakout at 56 probably. We will get out of all this trading range, and we will exit from a huge, massive double bottom that can bring the price possibly into 2.3. Let's calculate this. So let's say this is the area where we complete this double bottom. Not quite. We get into 2.1, which is the heaviest resistance in here, the area of distribution. And this RSI 56, where is it? Let's say 56.86. That will be, well, that's just the breakout. What? Okay, so in order to get to the global resistance at 56.86, price needs to get into 55 cents. That close to the price. That's crazy. Okay, so breaking out from all this pattern in the price is equivalent to more or less breaking out from the top resistance on the momentum too. Interesting. Right, let's go to the next one. Let's go with virtual. I think I saw something interesting in virtual. Which one am I gonna do? Let's do this one in Binance. I think, yeah, I'll do all the lines as well. Right, so this is a very typical pattern. It's this lost support, came back, retest, and it's kind of the golden pocket. Yeah, so it went to golden pocket and it couldn't close in the golden pocket. It's just being rejected there. And let's drop it to the daily to see a bit more. Let's move this to get more confluence. And the RSI, right? So on the RSI daily, there is something going on in here, right? So there is some bottom information. We got a signal D that comes from the area of value of the delta longs versus shorts. So that went extremely low. That was your opportunity. I hope you had the indicator because it's so cool. The delta trigger there, and that is the low of the RSI, and we start heading towards the breakout area. And we have confirmed the breakout with an RSI of 50, and that should, in theory, imply that we have a good chance that we flip this resistance of the head and shoulders in here into potentially new support. That is 1.7. And if we reclaim 1.7, well, we need to ideally, go into 2.2 and flip it into support so we can go into new highs. And yeah, I know that I review this a lot on Paul Barron's channel. For some reason, they were so bullish on the fundamentals of this, which I, as you would expect, have no clue what are the fundamentals of this. But it's looking like it's got a good chance now to, at the very least, go to 2.27 and see what happens there. And there were so many shorts and so little longs in here that now they're getting squeezed out, and that is probably the case. Let's see where we have liquidation levels. Oh yeah, so at 2.5 there is a big liquidation. Of course, there is one at 1.8. That's very close to the price. And let's see, 1.8. So this is 1.7. So 1.8 could get us into the breakout. So there's a good motivation there to at least see what happens above that line, right? And notice that having liquidity right there, a liquidation pool at 1.7 to 1.8, doesn't guarantee the breakout. It triggers the breakout signal, true, but the moment you trigger a breakout is the moment of maximum risk. You don't enter along there because at that point, there are two arms wrestling and you have no clue which one is going to win. So you build a thesis around here, you are in a position and you observe which one is looking like it's going to win. And if you get a rejection there, you exit still in a small profit because it failed, but you didn't take any loss. That's how you trade like a pro. If you trade the breakout in here, retail loves to get trapped in these areas and they enter at 1.7. They say, oh, we just reclaimed, let's go and buy. And then they drag you down to a new low. They do that when they perceive that too much retail enter. Then they say, okay, let's clear them out. Let's take a new low. Let's wait for them now to take a short and then let's go up. It's always against you. So you have to be a little bit 2 steps ahead of that and think in the opposite way. If we get into there and we do a breakout, do we have chances to get there and do a breakout? Yeah, okay, I'm going to start accumulating here quietly where no one can see me. And let's do Axel. Axel, who pick up that name? These days, I'm so upset with Axel Rose. He sings like Mickey Mouse. He used to be the hero, but now it's like I cannot tolerate listening the live performances. It's just so sad. Anyways, we're here for something else. I'm going to create a channel talking about music as well. Right, so Axel is doing pretty bad, just like the musician. So we got lower lows, lower highs, and yeah, like many other coins, we are in that potential of forming a double bottom. We did double bottom in here. It didn't perform that well in December. And from here, we could build another one. There has been already a liquidity grab, a fake move above that neckline beyond this resistance, but it got pushed back down. Let's see. Sorry, I don't want to sneeze in the microphone because that's going to, get 10 people to unsubscribe. Oh, cool. Look at this. You see, we're going lower and the momentum is going higher, but there seems to be a squeeze in here. Okay. So it's not just higher like a parallel channel. It's kind of a triangle. So it needs to pick a side, which could be a breakdown. It could be a breakout. But if I was you and I was in a position already on this, I will definitely keep an eye when we get into 44 or if we get into 38. So those are critical levels for a decision whether Axel is going to go anywhere. And yeah, longs are trapped in here. And I'm not even sure if they have been taking out their positions, because there was a huge spike of longs that went into all-time highs, 84% longs, and that moved down back into the, we could say, the median. And that means that there are still some of them that are in pain, okay, that they are still holding that position around the lows. And this moves of 3 weeks at the lows is keeping them from sleeping, and they're thinking, should I just close it? Okay, damn it, I'm trapped on this, should I close it? And the moment they close it is the moment we start building back up the rest of the W, because that means the market maker cash out. We got that higher high there, and I think we're gonna do it, but maybe possibly it's gonna push a little bit lower to get them out of the position, to force them to close, not just to keep them in pain, but also actively getting them out. And maybe after that it moves back up. Let's see if there's any area left of liquidity on this coin that is too evident and that needs to be taken. So nothing stands that much on the low end, but on the top end we have 50 and 60. There's those crazy amount of shorts that enter from here, from 46 cents. They went with all their life shorting the coin. I mean, this must be manipulation, right? So they say we're going to the moon, and then the influencers enter there, and then they take profits in here. It's disgusting, but it's very well timed, right? So that means the opposite as well. It means that if they are now in those shorts, they're still in the position in the short, they're gonna pick a timing for closing the short. If they're still in the position, it might mean that they still want a little bit lower, and if they close the position, that brings the price back up. Okay, that's something also to consider. That could be buying pressure to form that double bottom that we need. Right. Just 5 minutes. We did Axel. Did I skip Tia? I think you guys keep voting and they are moving around. So I missed Fartcoin and I missed Tia. So I'm gonna do those two and see how we go with the time, because I need to pick up my daughter. I cannot extend over 4 p.m. unfortunately. Sorry, guys. Okay, so here we see the opposite, right? Remember, the previous coin has a momentum up. There are some coins that have a squeeze in momentum up, and there are some coins that have a parallel channel up. This one goes down and the momentum goes down too. So it is in a little bit more of a dramatic bearish scenario. Let's draw some things. Let's see where is the resistance in case we come back from here. And I wanted that double bottom, but it didn't happen. So we can move on from that hypothesis. Why is this dumping so badly? I mean, Bitcoin now is kind of hitting all-time highs, and now it's getting bought up at 111, and TIA is in a very poor state with loads of resistance coming in at 26 and then at 5.3. Longs are stepping back in, but they are not able to move that much the price. Do we have any news specific events? No, nothing. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't look very promising. Let me see. Yeah, one last attempt and I move on to Fartcoin. So I will monitor this resistance in here, the 39, to see if we can do a revenge rally into 50. 39 to 50. Let's see how that does it look in the price. To 50 from 39. So hypothetically, if we break 1.8, let's confirm that. If we break 1.8, yeah, beyond 1.8, not just kissing it, but going above 1.8, let's say we go into $2, then we have a good chance that we go into $3, and that's a 50% already. So that could be a good setup. Let's zoom in so you can see it. So that could bring the price from here into there. And if we form that, the next question is, do we form any bullish diversions? No, nothing. It's just pure crap. The momentum, the lower we go, the more intense the bearish momentum gets. So that's not very promising. So hopefully things are going to change. Something needs to change in here. Otherwise, I wouldn't be personally accumulating at that level. And don't call me if these things tomorrow do 2000%. I do TA. I don't have a crystal ball if anyone manipulates the price and dumps millions of dollars on this because they got a deal and someone knows already. And this kind of thing, it's not evident when I look at this chart. You could say, can you say that there is a falling wedge? I'm going to force it to be a falling wedge. That's a bullish pattern that we could monitor. Yeah, but I would like a falling wedge with momentum going up anyways. So it's a falling wedge with momentum crap. Let's move on to Fartcoin. Let's close with something that doesn't stink. Not sure about that, but Fartcoin. Is it listed in perpetuals? That's the largest one. Interesting. We got so many coins doing this shape, right? So a dump from January to lows and then going back up into golden pocket and then taking a breather in here with no new lows. Longs are dumping in this area. There's a shift during this week, interestingly. Let's drop it to the weekly. Where can I find Farcoin listed for longer? So I guess I was doing the analysis already in here. So that is a channel down. And on the daily, it's kind of building momentum after a double bottom. That is the daily time frame. We need to basically break from this flag, something like this. Let's see. Yeah, that is more promising on the daily because it's looking like it's could complete a cap and handle. And the target, it was already there, is the $3. Let's cheat a bit. So if we find any liquidity between 1.2 and 1.6, that will be phenomenal. We have it between 1.23. Let's reduce this because there's not much. 1.23 into 1.4, and I say up until 1.6, but in here there is not that much, unfortunately. But we don't have much resistance there. If you look at the volume profile, it decreases significantly there, and we have almost never been trading above 1.6, so we don't have any structure form there. So the most likely scenario is that you remain in the trading range because you've been in this trading range forever. So if you approach 1.6, you should be already allocated at the lows of the handle or at the lows of the cap, and then see what happens against this neckline. If in the neckline we break out and hold, then you hold on to your long until, whenever you see there is a breakdown incoming. So we could defend this move up with this, using this pivot, although there's been already a little bit of a hiccup there, but let's put it like that. And let's be positive. Let's say this goes in this way and it meets with that, it could continue there. Longs and shorts, let's go back to the weekly. I say already that it was collapsing, but it's been at highs of 53, which is not that big number, but it's closer to the all-time high for this coin. And socials, it's just 1% all the time, so nothing to say about that. I'm gonna do one more coin, but you guys that are live, you're gonna get the perk of giving me the next coin. You can pick from the list of the votes, but I'm not gonna pick anything from there. You do it, you tell me, and then we're done. Yes, Bitcoin is getting bought up at 110.5 and just still in the flag. So I'm waiting to fill my short if we push higher from here. Right, guys, I think, we got a selection. XRP. Samuel is asking for that. Let's do XRP. Whoa, yeah, we got a follow through on the breakout on the weekly RSI and the price. Let's focus on the price first. It looks phenomenal because we have the liquidity hand on the lower end. This could end that scenario of having to go into 156, which was the risk that we were mentioning. There's plenty of liquidity in here. So the further we go away into here, into this direction, into liquidity that is sitting on the top end, the 2.7, the 3 something, the better. And we have a neckline in here as well. I'm not sure if you can see it, but it's at 2.4, 2.45. It's at double bottom, and the target must be really high because from the neck into the lows of 1.6, that can push XRP back into $3.3. Of course, we need to hold in here, right? We need to prevent another liquidity hand like the one that happened at $265 on the 12th of May. So we need to be on the watch out. No long entry in the breakout. You do whatever you want, but many times you're gonna do it and you're gonna get lucky. It's gonna work, and you're gonna say, TTP is just talking bollocks. I trade breakouts and they do perfectly well. Just statistically speaking, you're gonna be stopped out more often just because you are trading what retail is trading. So you're on the wrong side. If you trade the lows, support. If you trade a new low, enter at 156 or liquidity there, you get a bit bigger edge, I could say. So that is bullish. That's looking really good on the weekly. Let's see longs versus shorts. We got as well from the area of value. Almost we hit the area of value that I wanted to see, and we're going towards the first percentile of longs shorts. So here, evidently, we are getting into areas of higher risk to enter a fresh long. It's more like I will be looking for shorting as we land into the yellow or the white line, as opposed to starting a long now. Yeah, and definitely all the fuss around XRP is helping on this, the social dominance. Let me refresh the liquidity levels on XRP and then we're done. Right, so we went for these areas of liquidity. Look how it play out perfectly. I don't do it all the time. My value, I hope you agree, but my value is not to forecast, okay? I don't want to forecast. I don't want to forecast for myself. I want to see the options. And I think this was a good option. It acted like a forecast, but I don't intend to forecast. This was a move down from the head and shoulder that technically was pointing to a new low at 1.55 with higher liquidity than this end. But I think we have more chances than we just fake to the downside halfway through, somewhere in the middle, and then we start going in the opposite direction, heading into the 2.7. That's the largest on the upside in close proximity. Let me remove the 3x. So high leverage is at 2.7, so from 5x into higher, and below the price we have our risk starting from 1.8 into 1.5. That's the area that we haven't touched yet. That's the risk at the moment of entering. So you enter now long, and if it fails, you can hit a 31% of drawdown automatically. That's on a 3x, is already on isolated, kind of liquidated, right? And instead, if you enter at hitting liquidity and then hitting another liquidity and scaling a little bit up, then now you are in profit, right? So you are from here 27, and if this fails, you still have the option to say, you know what, this is gonna fail. I'm gonna just run with 20%. Hold on the horses. You are running out with 20%. That's a big win. It's much better edge. We hit the liquidity at 2.3, 2.4 is gone. Next is 2.5, 2.6, and 2.7. But 2.7 definitely is the bigger incoming. Right after that, we get the 3x's that are sitting on the high end, probably beyond $30. And the rally on XRP on the daily looks pretty good. Yeah, it's getting closer to 70. And we're getting actually a global breakout on the daily. Let's see, from here all the way to there. And this happened yesterday. So in all this trading range of having conquered 3 point something dollars with the momentum, we've never broke out in that. So that's a pretty big achievement. So looking forward to see if XRP can go into 3, into 4 with extensions. Now I'm tend to see targets. So from here to the lows were there. An extension of 1 is 4.5, an extension of golden pocket is 6.2. And I'm gonna leave you in that high note. I hope you enjoyed the private elite live stream. So if you want to join, if you're watching this tomorrow on Friday and you want to consider being part of this, asking questions, suggesting the coins, or on the last Thursday of every month to join for a little bit of PineScript to learn some tricks or things related to trading bots with PineScript as well, indicators, how to make changes and things. Last Thursday of the month, but you have to be an elite member. Of course, it's a lot more effort and it definitely helps supporting the channel. So thanks so much for that. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye bye, guys. Bye.